Columbus, Ohio. First snow. I'm in my brother-in-law's living room, the one lit by the restoration hardware lamp I paid for, when Jason clears his throat like he's about to pass legislation. Michael, quick thing, Christmas Eve is family only. He says family like I'm the intern who forgot the coffee. Emily squeezes my hand too quick, like a warning, then lets go. The 12-foot tree blinks in curated rhythm. The silk curtains, also mine, don't blink at all. Run that back, I say. Family only? Nothing personal. Jason answers. Emily's folks are old school, holiday standards. We're setting a tone this year. Tone. That word people use when they don't want to say class. I scan the room. The quartz island I financed on my visa. The imported range hood he needed for content. The bar cart stocked with labels I recognize from my statements. Jason, I keep it flat, clinical. I've covered your HOA arrears and 3 months of mortgage in the last year. If money is the tone, dude, chill. He cuts in, smiling too wide. This isn't about money. It's atmosphere. Smart conversation. No offense. No offense is what a narcissist says right before the offense. My phone buzzes on the counter. A text from Jason, even though he's 6 feet away. Can you still pick up my parents on the 24th? Delta 1000, 732, 3:05 p.m. So I'm not family, but I'm still the chauffeur. Classic gaslighting, exclude me. Then assign a favor to prove I'm not excluded. Emily steps closer, eyes glassy. Maybe we do Christmas breakfast together? Then you could swing by the airport. There it is, enabler instinct wrapped in apology. I love my wife. I hate this dynamic. I'll pass, I say. Both. Jason laughs like I told a joke that didn't land. Don't make this weird. We have a vibe we're curating. You curate art. You don't curate people. I rest a hand on the coffee table. Also mine, so I don't put it through his jaw. Let me be direct, I say. I've been wiring $2,600 on the first of every month. ACH out of Chase ending 1,130 to your mortgage at First Community, ending 7,423. That's 36 transfers. Plus upgrades you pitched as investments in resale. You called it our future. His smile tightens by 0.5 millimeter. Why are you being hostile? It's the holidays. Boundaries aren't hostility, they're oxygen. I nod toward the glittering tree. Consider this my last investment. I'll pick up a gift on the way out, my dignity. He tries one more dodge. Emily, can you explain? He's spiraling. Spiraling is code for not complying. I look at my wife. I love you, I say quietly. But I won't be the bank and the punchline in the same room. Jason can't help himself. He goes for the cut. It's just, when people with your background join these dinners, the conversation dies, I finish. Or you mean it stops pretending? Silence. Snow taps the window. Somewhere, an ice maker drops a tray like a gavel. I pocket my phone. I'm done. On the way to the door, I pass a framed family rules sign, live, laugh, love, in a font that looks expensive. I paid for that too, because irony is tax deductible in this house. In the foyer, Jason shadows me. Confirm airport at least. Don't be petty. Petty is asking the person you just disinvited to carry your baggage literally. So that's a no? It's a boundary, I say. New vocabulary for your curated vibe. The cold outside tastes honest. My phone lights again. Be an adult. Don't make Emily pick sides. That's the tell. The toxic move is always triangulation. Corner me with guilt. Weaponize Emily's love. Frame compliance as maturity. I reply with a photo I took 10 minutes ago while he bragged about his tone. A tight shot of the quartz island, the lamp, the curtains, the bar cart. I add a caption. Written evidence exists. Receipts, invoices, statements. Stop talking about tone. Start talking about repayment. The typing bubbles appear, hesitate, vanish. He's smart enough to stop texting. Not smart enough to stop owing. I drive the 6 minutes home on muscle memory. The garage door creaks like it's tired of being patient. In the basement, I pull the blue binder from the shelf, tabbed, dated, highlighted, ACH confirmations, bank screenshots, contractor invoices, and a PDF of my father-in-law's will, where family gifts were supposed to be reciprocal, not a lifetime subscription. I lay the binder on my desk like a sworn statement. Its weight is satisfying. It's the weight of me being done. I open my laptop and draft an email with the subject, Notice of Boundary. To Jason, CC myself. BCC, a folder named Written Evidence. Effective immediately. I will no longer subsidize your mortgage, HOA, or home upgrades. Do not schedule me for transportation or hosting tasks. Any public statements you make about me will be met with documented facts and counsel. You are entitled to your tone. You are not entitled to my bank account. Michael. I attach one page. A redacted transfer history amounts visible. Account digits masked except the last 4. Enough to warn him I'm not bluffing. Not enough to give him ammunition. When I hit send, the whoosh sounds like a door closing. Coffee. No sugar. The blue binder sits where a family photo used to hang above the desk. I hear, Dr. Miller in my head from months ago, when I'd tried to rename manipulation with something softer. You're not difficult because you set boundaries. You were uncomfortable because you didn't. The snow keeps falling clean. Decisive. My phone vibrates once more. This time it's Emily. I'm sorry. I hate this. I type back. I love you. I'm not funding abuse anymore. 3 dots. Then. I know. I'll talk to him. I stare at the binder, at the neat tabs and neon highlights that make my humiliation look like a PowerPoint. There's a difference between generosity and self-erasure. For 4 years, I've been an enabler dressed as a good husband. I thought paying their bills was love. It was actually a bribe I paid to be tolerated. I shut the binder and slide it into my messenger bag. If Jason wants tone, he can have it in writing from my bank records to his inbox. If he wants a fight, he can meet a different version of me. The one who stops apologizing for having boundaries. Merry Christmas, Jason. Curate that. The snow keeps working the street like an eraser while I spread my life across the desk. Statements, invoices, printouts so hot from the laser printer they curl. The blue binder stares back at me, tabbed months by month. Neon flags like tiny accusations. I start with transfers because numbers don't lie even when people do. January through December, 4 years straight, $2,600. ACH on the first business day. Chase checking ending 1,130 to First Community Mortgage ending 7,423. 36 clean hits. I total it twice because rage makes math slippery. $93,600. That's just the mortgage support. It doesn't include emergencies. A word Jason used the way kids use please. I pull the HOA ledger. Westfield Meadows Association, monthly dues $185, plus 2 fines for decorative lighting violations from the year he decided the house needed to look like a nightclub. 3 months past due last spring. $555 cleared from my Amex ending 9,041. I flip to the kitchen upgrade investment in resale value. An $8,972 charge at Granite & Co. The sales rep had talked to me like the adult in the room. Because I was. The imported range hood, $1,749 plus installation. The bar card everybody compliments, Crate and Barrel, $799 before tax. Week I paid it. He posted a boomerang of champagne with the caption, Manifesting Abundance. My phone lights face down. I ignore it and keep finding my own fingerprints on their lifestyle. There's a Venmo note from 2 Christmases ago. For the kids' Santa pics, a ruse that turned into a Lululemon haul. There's the landscaper who billed me directly after Jason changed his email on the account. Hey Michael, as discussed, we'd never discussed it. I make a stack of, as discussed, invoices. It grows faster than the snow outside. Ryan pings on FaceTime. I let it ring once to swallow whatever this feeling is shame. Maybe then answer. He's in his truck, beanie on, face red from the cold. You look like a man auditing his own murder, he says. Not murder, I say. Slow bleed. Show me the patient. I angle the camera. He whistles low. That's a lot of yellow highlighter. 36 mortgage payments. HOA, fines, the kitchen, the bar cart, the hood, the... Stop. He raises a hand. I get the picture. You've been Santa with direct deposit. I thought I was helping family. Turns out I was underwriting a brand. Ryan grimaces. Brand equals expensive theater. Did you save the emails? Everything. ACH confirms. PDFs. Even screenshots of his Instagram posts that align to my charges. If this was court, I could storyboard the manipulation. Good, he says. Storyboards win audiences and judges. Have you told Emily all of it, like, all? I shut my eyes a second. There's the minefield. Bits and pieces. Enough to fight about. Not enough to change anything. I didn't want to make her pick between me and her brother. And that, my dude, is how enablers are born. Ryan says, gentler than his words. You tried to keep the peace by subsidizing the war. I picture Dr. Miller's office, the calm lamp, the questions that felt like scalpels. Was I enabling their toxic behavior by being nice? Yes, it wasn't charity. It was a bribe for acceptance, paid in installments. I'm done, I say. Ryan nods. Then get practical. Freeze the money. Lock down your accounts. Start a paper trail that screams, boundaries in effect. And for the love of your FICO score, pull your credit report. Make sure nobody's using your social for emergency credit. He's right. I open annualcreditreport.com, authenticate with the bizarre multiple choice about old addresses, and pull all 3 bureaus. My stomach drops at a hard inquiry from a store card in September. Harbor House. I didn't apply for Jason loves that place, Ryan says. Scented candles and throw blankets that cost as much as legal advice. I scan deeper. No new accounts, but the inquiry shouldn't be there. I flag it for dispute and make a note. Add a fraud alert if anything else looks off. Then I check my Chase account user logins. Just me. I switch on two-factor for everything anyway. Boundaries aren't just emotional, they're also digital. The blue binder's front pocket holds my father-in-law's will, a scanned PDF Emily sent last year when we were compiling life docs. I reread the section on family gifts. It's sentiment more than instruction, but it says the quiet part out loud. Gifts were meant to foster reciprocity, not dependence. I print page 5 and slide it behind the January tab. If we go to war in the court of family opinion, I'll bring their patriarch's words with me, not as a weapon, as a mirror. An email pings from First Community Mortgage Escrow Analysis. I open it because curiosity is the most dangerous drug. The payment is scheduled to adjust up $76 starting in January due to increased property taxes and homeowners insurance. Of course it is. I can already hear Jason's voice. Just until tax season, man. I forward the email to myself with the subject line. Another reason I'm out. Emily texts. I'm still at Mom's. He's fuming. Please don't escalate. I type and erase 3 versions of the truth. Then send. I'm not escalating. I'm documenting. Ryan's voice returns. What's your number? Dollar number? Boundary number, he says. You need an exact sentence for the next time he pushes. I think about it. Try it out loud. I will not transfer money, co-sign, or provide services that enable your overspending. Any future help will be contingent on transparency and a plan you don't expect me to finance. Ryan grins. Put it in writing. Already did. The notice of boundary sits in my sent folder like a loaded slide. I add another piece. A short, tart sentence. I wish I'd said years ago, stop confusing my kindness with consent. The printer hums. I'm archiving my own awakening. I dive back into the charges because pain likes precision. The emergency plumber last July was $422. The patio set, $1,199. The small loan to hold them over, after Jason botched a training app rollout, $4,500. Cash app, with a "we good" thumbs up that never got a repayment date. I maxed 2 cards I'd kept for travel just to float them through a summer they spent posting rooftops in Negronis. My inbox coughs up an old chain with the contractor who did their crown molding. Jason had looped me in to coordinate payment timing. The subject line is hilarious in hindsight. Resale value phase 2. The invoice is not. $3,840, paid from my account the week after he posted Bootstrapped Hustle. I print the email thread, highlight the "can you just front it" line in near neon yellow, and tab it under narrative versus numbers. Emily calls. I nearly don't answer, then do. Because boundaries without compassion are just brick walls. I'm outside, she says, voice small. Can I come in? I meet her at the door. Her cheeks are raw from the wind. Her eyes are raw from something else. He said you embarrassed him, she says. He said you threatened him. I told him I won't fund him, I say. If his self-image is connected to my money, that's its own problem. She stares at the binder. This looks like a lawsuit. It's a memory, I say, mine. Of what I did for people who called me family and treated me like a vendor. I hate that this is between us, she whispers. It's not between us, I say, softer. It's between me and my own spine. I won't be an enabler anymore. I'll be your husband who tells the truth. She exhales, a shiver leaving her shoulders. He asked if you'd still pick up his parents. I laugh once, a sound with no humor. He can Uber Black. Or learn the bus schedule. Either way, I'm not his driver. She wipes her eyes. I told him not to text you. He said he'd go public. Of course he will, I say. Narcissists love an audience. I kept receipts. You really wrote him an email called Notice of Boundary. I had frote. I did. I hand her a printed copy. She reads it, lips moving. When she gets to the line about public statements and documented facts, she looks up. Counsel? She asks. If he smears me, I won't fight with feelings. I'll respond with written evidence. She nods slowly, something like relief and grief at once. Ryan says you pulled your credit? Ryan says a lot of smart things, I say. I also flagged a bogus inquiry. If another one pops, I'll add a fraud alert. Emily picks up a highlighted invoice. Granite. She almost laughs. He told me his client comped that. His client did, I say. One named Michael. She sets the paper down like it's hot. So what happens now? And this and not of life. Nothing dramatic, I say. I don't shout. I don't show up. I don't pay. I let the silence do the work, and if he tries to weaponize attention, I tell the story with numbers. If he escalates, I escalate calmly. And Christmas? Breakfast with you, I say. At our table. Then we'll go for a drive and not to an airport. Her smile is small but real. I can make French toast. Make it loud, I say. Our kind of cooking. When she leaves the room to call her mom, I make one last stack. Repayment proposals that never happened. It's blank. I clip it in anyway, as a promise to myself not to add pages. Then I back up the binder. Cloud folder, encrypted drive, printed copy to the office safe. Fireproof, foolproof. The snow has slowed to a sift. I put a sticky note on the binder's spine in black marker. Evidence is greater than opinions. Then I slide it into my messenger bag. Tomorrow, I'll cancel the transfer. Tonight, I'll let the numbers do what they do best, draw a hard line. I text Ryan. The receipts are now a weapon. He replies in under a minute. Nah. They're a shield. Use it. I start the morning with coffee and a list. Step 1. Kill the money. Step 2. Anticipate the smear. Step 3. Document everything. I call Chase, put the phone on speaker, and set the blue binder open to the ACH tab. Chase Customer Care, this is Angela. A bright voice says, how can I help you today? I do. I need to cancel a recurring ACH transfer, I say. Effective immediately. She verifies me through the usual gauntlet last four, address, a code texted to my phone, then reads the screen. I see a $2,600 monthly transfer to First Community Mortgage, ending in $7,423 on the first business day of each month. It next executes January 1st. Would you like to stop just the next payment or the entire series? The entire series, I say. And please note on the account that any future attempts to set up transfers to that payee require verbal confirmation from me. You're all set, she says after a few keystrokes. Cancellation confirmation number is 9Q711A03. Anything else today? Yes, I say. Send an email confirming the cancellation. Subject line, ACH series terminated. Email sent, she says. You'll see it within 5 minutes. I hang up. The whoosh of the confirmation landing in my inbox is louder than the coffee maker. I print it, hole punch, tab it. Then I log into First Community as an authorized guest payer, a vestige of old helpful days, and remove my user access. Boundaries aren't real until the systems reflect them. Jason texts before 9. Need you to be an adult about airport today. Delta 1732. 3:05 p.m. Don't dump this on Emily. I type back. Arrange your own transportation. This is my boundary. He fires a volley. You're embarrassing yourself. Also, for your information, escrow went up. So if you could float, Jan plus Feb will be square by tax time. Square with what karma? I refuse the bait and put the phone face down. My calendar reminder pops. Notice of boundary, send certified copy. I print the email, sign the bottom with wet ink, and drive to the post office. Certified mail, return receipt requested, the green card I intend to keep forever. I keep the receipt, take a photo of the envelope, and drop it into the slot like a ritual. Back at my desk, I clean up the digital perimeter. I mute Jason on text, block him on Venmo, remove him as an emergency contact on my work HR portal. I update my password manager and add a note to myself that sounds like a sermon. Your guilt is not their credit line. At noon, Emily texts. He's telling my parents you abandoned them. They're furious. Please don't pick up. Let him manage his own mess. I reply, I won't pick up. I won't engage. I'm done being his enabler. By 2, I'm in my kitchen making French toast for 1 and an alibi for my sanity. At 3:05, when Delta 1732 lands, I'm stirring cinnamon into batter. At 3:26, a call from an unknown number rings out 5 times. At 3:49, the same number again. At 4:10, Jason calls. At 4:12, Emily. At 4:15, Jason's mother from yet another number. I let them stack like snowdrifts against a door I won't open. By 5:20, there's pounding on my front door, angry, insistent. I don't move. I watch from the side window. 2 people I don't know and a face I know too well. I stay still. After 5 minutes, they leave in a huff, headlights carving the street like high beams through fog. Silence returns, but it's the loaded kind, the calm before, and it breaks the next morning when Emily texts a single word. Article. I Google my own name and there it is, local lifestyle section, the kind of column that usually profiles candle shops and charity luncheons. The headline punches, holiday heartbreak, elderly couple stranded at airport as relative fails to show. There's an old headshot of me from my company site, and underneath it, a narrative so polished it squeaks. The piece quotes family sources who describe erratic behavior, financial instability, and an alarming refusal to fulfill basic obligations. It mentions dangerous weather, which is comical. The roads were dry, and the overnight low didn't crack freezing. It paints Jason's parents as fragile saints and me as an unreliable Grinch. I read it twice, not because I doubt what it says, but because I'm measuring where it's vulnerable. Dates, weather, patterns, motive. The better a lie is written, the easier it is to break with facts. I forward the link to a new email thread titled Defamation File. I paste screenshots of the weather app archived from yesterday. I include my call log, 0 outgoing calls, and the certified mail receipt time-stamped before the supposed abandonment. I drop in my ACH cancellation email to show motive for their smear retaliation. Then I call David. He answers like he's been waiting. How bad? Clean copy, dirty facts, I say. They flip the story into a pity piece. Send me the link and your receipts, he says. We start with a preservation letter. If they try to scrub anything, it's spoliation. Then a retraction demand. No threats we won't keep. Retraction statutes? I ask. Anything tactical. Ohio doesn't have a broad anti-SLAPP, but we don't need it. We have truth, malice, and damages if they keep this up. Did you capture yesterday's weather? Witnesses. I have time-stamped screenshots, the certified mail receipt, and a neighbor's ring cam likely caught them pounding my door. Good, he says. We'll request that footage today. I'll draft letters to the paper's editor, the reporter, and Jason. No more texting with him, everything in writing, BCC me. And Michael, don't take the bait. Narcissists escalate when an ATM grows legs. Already muted. I say. I'm not arguing feelings, I'm archiving lies. To have combient. Perfect, he says. One more thing. Post nothing. Not even a subtweet. Let them swim out farther. Mine. After we hang up, I print David's retainer email and sign it. It's a line item I'm happy to pay. Counsel is greater than chaos. Then I call my neighbor, Mrs. Whitaker, who lives across the street and sees everything without ever pretending otherwise. She's delighted to help her. Ring camera, she says, has a perfect angle of the entitled trilogy trying to kick in your decorum. I thank her twice and walk over with a flash drive and a carton of eggs from the farmer's market. Back home, the blue binder gets a new section, media. I slide in the article, then my annotated copy. Next to the paragraph about dangerous weather, I write in red pen, 46 degrees Fahrenheit, clear, no advisory, see Exhibit A. Next to the line about abandonment, I add, not a chauffeur, boundary communicated, see certified mail timestamp, text trail. Under erratic behavior, I paste a collage of Jason's posts, country club nights, grind captions, the bar cart he never paid for. Emily calls, voice tight. My mother is crying. She says you humiliated them. I saved them from the truth a long time, I say. That's over. The article is a weapon. We'll treat it like one. She asked if you're going to sue. Not if, I say. When, if they don't retract. But my preference is different justice. What kind? She asks. The kind where his audience watches him break his own brand, I say. The kind where facts read like poetry. She exhales. He's already circling wagons. His gym group chat is full of sympathy posts. Great, I say. More witnesses to the false narrative. I spend the next hour assembling a packet like I'm prepping for trial because I am, just not in a courtroom yet. The cover page is clean. Timeline of financial support and boundary notice. The table lists every ACH, every emergency, every as discussed, side by side with Instagram brags and we grinding captions. I add copies of his texts where he demands rides and money minutes after insults. Psychological abuse always reveals itself in timestamps. At 2, the paper's editor replies to David's letter with a predictable posture. We stand by our reporting wrapped in, we are reviewing. The reporter, Patricia, emails me separately. I'm sorry this story has caused distress. Would you like to share your side? Not by letting her write it. I draft a response that reads like a cross-examination and forward it to David. He edits 3 words and adds 1 sentence. I love. Any publication of further statements without inclusion of our documented facts will be treated as reckless disregard. Jason texts again from a new number. Be careful. Defamation works both ways. I respond once. For the record, truth is a defense. I have receipts. He tries to triangulate. You're making Emily miserable. Just do the right thing and fix this. People are talking. The translation is simple. Open your wallet and your calendar. I don't reply. Let him drown in other people's talking. By dinner, the article has 117 comments. Half are cloying, the other half cynical. I stop reading after 10. Crowds aren't juries, and I'm not on trial. Not yet. At 8, the doorbell rings. I check the camera. Jason, alone, hands jammed in his coat like he's trying to stuff his ego back in. I don't open. I call across the wood with a calm I didn't know I had. All communication in writing. Email only. He stares at the doorbell camera like it owes him an apology. You think you're safe behind paperwork? I think I'm clear behind boundaries, I say. If you keep lying, I'll keep publishing facts to the right people, in the right rooms, at the right time. He smiles thin, brittle. You won't do it. You've mistaken kindness for consent, I say. A common misread. He leaves, and I forward the clip to David with a single line. He's nervous. David replies, good. Nervous people make procedural mistakes. Sleep well. I do, for the first time in months. The money is cut off. The smear is mapped. The binder is heavier. Tomorrow, we move from defense to offense, not with screaming, but with scheduling. Not with rage, but with receipts. Boundaries aren't an argument. They're a plan. Dr. Miller's office smells like cedar and quiet. I sit on the couch that looks like it forgives people for being human, and I try to say the thing without decorating it. I stop the money, I tell her. And he went public. She nods once, a metronome for truth. Name the pattern out loud. Enabler, narcissist, scapegoat, I say. Jason performs superiority. I bankroll the performance. Emily apologizes for the discomfort between those 2 facts. What belief kept you in that triangle? She asks. That love equals sacrifice, I say. And that if I didn't keep paying, I'd be the bad guy. Translate that to a boundary, she says. Love equals truth, I answer. And not paying for abuse doesn't make me the villain. It makes me a grown man. She smiles with her eyes, not her mouth. Good. Now name the gaslighting. He calls exclusion tradition, controlled tone, and punishment consequences. He frames compliance as maturity. Be an adult, and triangulates through Emily to make guilt feel like gravity. What do you feel when you refuse the role? She asks. Steady, I say, surprised. Like breathing after being underwater too long. Got into it is them. She writes one sentence on a sticky note and hands it to me. The boundary is not what I say to him. It's what I promise myself. I pocket it. I hired counsel. I add. If he keeps lying, I don't argue. I produce receipts. Good, she says. You're moving from reactivity to agency. One more thing. People like Jason escalate before they extinguish. Expect it. Don't fear it. Plan for it. Already planning, I say. David's drawing lines on paper. David meets me 2 hours later at a narrow table in a coffee shop that only plays vinyl. He's mid-40s, the comfortable kind of sharp, with the cadence of someone who's talked juries off ledges. I read the piece, he says. No preamble. It's cleanly written and profoundly stupid. He slides a folder across the table. Here's our play. First, preservation letters, paper, email, and FedEx to Jason, the paper's editor, and the reporter. They are now on notice to preserve devices, drafts, messages, metadata, social posts, and communications related to your name. If anything disappears, that's spoliation. Judges dislike spoliation. He ticks boxes with a pen. Second, retraction demand. Not a chest thump. A surgical list, line by line of false statements with exhibits attached. We give them a deadline and a path to cure. If they fix it, we pocket the correction. If they don't, we have malice. Malice? I ask. Not the cartoon kind, he says. Legal malice. Knowledge of falsity or reckless disregard for the truth. You told them the boundary before the supposed abandonment. Weather records contradict dangerous conditions. There's motive retaliation immediately after you cut the ACH. That's a narrative a court understands. He takes a sip. Third, venue. Ohio doesn't have a robust anti-SLAPP law. That's fine. We're not filing a vanity suit. We're building leverage. If they double down, we're comfortable litigating because our damages are reputational and quantifiable. Small community. Business contacts. The headline is sticky. I nod. I pulled my credit, added two-factor, disputed a bogus inquiry. Good, he says. Add a password reset across bank accounts, utilities, and any shared logins. People retaliate in sloppy ways. And this is important, Ohio is a one-party consent state for recording. You can record conversations you're a part of without telling him. Don't record other people without you. Keep a contemporaneous log, date, time, summary. Juries love time logs. I've got a binder, I say. I want a binder and a drive, he says. Cloud copy, encrypted copy, printed copy. Email me PDFs. Name files with dates. YYYYMM. DD. Description. We're not just right. We need to be organized. I hand him a thumb drive. Media section includes weather screenshots, call logs, the article, my certified mail receipt, and Mrs. Whitaker's ring clip. He grins. Mrs. Whitaker is now our star witness. I'll get a notarized affidavit from her with that footage attached. We'll also pull NWS records to nail the storm lie. He flips a page. I also want to widen the lens. Jason likes theatrics. Look for places where he manages other people's money. HOA board, booster clubs, charity committees. If he's sloppy there, it's relevant to motive and character. Don't accuse. Document. He's treasurer of the HOA, I say, and co-chairs their wellness fundraiser. David raises an eyebrow. HOAs are bylaws and budgets. Fundraisers are receipts and Form 990 rules if they're a nonprofit. If he's commingled funds or skimmed fees, someone will be very interested. Again, we don't speculate, we gather. I feel a click in my head, like gears finally meshing. What about my email to him? Perfect, David says. Notice of boundary reads like a ceasefire and a warning. It shows you're reasonable. Keep the tone like that. Measured. Factual. Every time he rants, you respond with a sentence that could be read to a judge without blushing. He showed up at my door last night, I add. I told him email only, through the doorbell. Good, he says. You control channel and cadence. If he keeps showing up, we'll file a civil protection order not because you're afraid, but because boundaries are enforceable. He leans back. You asked me on the phone about tactics. Here's one more, timing. Don't rush to the internet. Let the article marinate just long enough for them to believe their own press. Meanwhile, we prepare a precision reveal for the right room, country club board, HOA meeting, the fundraiser's donor list. When we publish facts, we publish once, clean, with exhibits. Not a rant, I say. A report. Exactly, he says. And consider this your operating system. Don't argue, don't explain, don't perform. Document, notify, enforce. He closes the folder. Now ask the hard question you've been circling. I stare at the swirl in my coffee. Was I enabling their toxic behavior by being too nice? Yes, he says, not unkindly. And you taught them your money was the consequence of their moods. That ends when you stop paying tuition for their delusion. I breathe once, slow. I want to protect Emily without protecting his story. Then separate compassion from complicity, he says. You can hold her hand and still hold the line. You can say, I love you, and no in the same sentence. Write her a letter that names the boundary without making her the messenger's mule. Have a nine to do. There is nine to do and in between nines. On my drive home, the sticky note burns a hole in my pocket. The boundary is not what I say to him, it's what I promise myself. I say it out loud at a red light. It feels like an oath. I get back to my desk and build the drive David asked for. Folders bloom. Bank, ACH, HOA, dues, upgrades, texts, media, legal. File names click into place like dominoes. I upload the lot to a private share and send David access with a subject line that feels like spine. Evidence, indexed. Emily finds me there, still labeling. She sits, watches, then speaks into the silence. Dr. Miller? Cedar and quiet, I say. She asked me to name the pattern. And did you? She asks. I did, I say. I also named my role. She looks at the blue binder, then at me. He thinks you'll blink. I won't, I say. Not this time. And when he escalates, and he will, I'll do the opposite. I'll slow down. She nods, a tired blessing. He told my mother you're litigious. I told your brother I'm meticulous, I say. Different word. Better outcome. Her mouth quirks despite everything. What happens next? David sends letters, I say. We collect affidavits, logs, and weather records. We don't post. We don't chase. We prepare a single, surgical presentation for the people who matter. And if Jason keeps inventing fiction, we file something that speaks a language he understands. Process servers and deadlines. And me? She asks. You get to stop apologizing for other people's behavior, I say. You get to say, I won't carry messages for you. Email Michael. You get to eat French toast on Christmas without checking your phone. She reaches for my hand. I'm sorry I asked you to pick them up. I'm sorry I taught you that I would. I say. After she goes to bed, I open a fresh document and write down rules in plain English. No money, no rides, no favors. All communications in writing. Record calls I'm part of, log dates and summaries. Preserve everything emails, texts, posts. Respond only with facts, never with fury. Never confuse silence with weakness. It's strategy. Protect Emily without protecting the lie. Remember, boundaries are enforceable. I tape the list inside the blue binder's cover, a constitution for one. Then I draft the letter David suggested for Emily, 3 paragraphs, no barbs. I tell her I love her. I tell her what I won't do. I tell her what I will. Therapy, transparency, and a marriage that doesn't subcontract our values to someone else's ego. I'm about to shut the laptop when an email lands from David. Letters sent. Editor acknowledged receipt. Reporter responded. Open to additional facts. Jason's was served via both email and courier. Also, small homework. Jot down any roles Jason holds where he touches money. HOA, treasurer, fundraiser chairs, booster accounts. If there's smoke, we find the fire, with documents, not accusations. I reply with a short list. It's longer than it should be. Before bed, I put the sticky note on my nightstand. The house is quiet, in the way houses are when you stop using them as staging areas for other people's drama. I sleep like a man who finally moved out of a role he never auditioned for. In the morning, there's a return receipt in my mailbox from certified mail. Green card signed with a flourish that looks smug even in ballpoint. Good. He got the message. I snap a photo and slide it into the media folder. Then I pour coffee and check the weather. Out of habit now. Clear. Cold. Bright. A good day to be boring. A good day to sharpen knives made of paper. A good day to let the next move come to me, and to be ready when it does. By noon the next day, David has me running a scavenger hunt for paper. Not feelings paper. He emails a checklist that reads like a treasure map for fraud. Bank statements, vendor lists, bylaws, meeting minutes, budgets, escrow letters, donation receipts. At the top he's typed, "Where there's a brand, there's a burn rate." I start with the HOA. Westfield Meadows keeps a resident portal that looks like it was coded in 2008 and never forgiven. I log in, click through PDFs with names like approved, budget, final, final 2, PDF, and find the line items: landscaping, snow removal, pool, social events, wellness initiative. Jason is treasurer. His name sits on 2 signatures like a watermark. There's a reimbursement policy: submit receipts within 30 days. Board vote required over $500. I pull minutes. Motions fly. Seconds follow. Votes pass. But vendor names jump out. Midwest Wellness LLC, $1,950. Prime Performance Events, $2,200. Great Lakes Fitness Consulting, $1,500. Generic. Forgettable. Perfect. I Google them. Midwest Wellness LLC resolves to a mailbox service and estate filing that lists a single organizer. JRW Solutions Incorporated. I search the business register. JRW matches Jason R. Whitman, Jason's full initials. My stomach does the slow elevator drop. I text David. Vendor shell? Looks like it. He replies fast. Don't accuse. Screenshot everything. Save PDFs with URLs and timestamps. Will request the full vendor file, and 1,099 seconds. I print the minutes and highlight vendor names in jaundice yellow. Then I cross-reference dates with Jason's Instagram. On the very day Prime Performance Events, $2,200 is approved. There's a photo of Jason at a downtown steakhouse. Tomahawk bone like a weapon. Captioned, "Celebrating wins. Community is greater than everything." 2 days after the Midwest Wellness payment, a boomerang of a new watch. The brand tag humble bragged. When you spend other people's money, the algorithm always knows first. Emily comes into my office as I'm building a 3-column chart. Date divided by approval, divided by flex. She stops at the doorway, reading my screen. "What am I looking at?" she asks. "Ho minutes," I say. And the days Jason manifested ribeyes. She moves closer. Midwest Wellness. Who is that? Jason, I say. By a different name. Quaitness. She blinks, once, like a camera recalibrating in bad light. "You're sure?" I slide over the state filing. The JRW Solutions listing. The mailing address that matches Jason's gym suite. The organizer name that might as well be a confession. She sits down. It's not the dramatic kind of collapse. It's the kind where your bones decide to tell the truth first. "He told Mom the HOA was lucky to have him." She whispers. "Maybe they are," I say. "Lucky enough to be a line item." My phone rings. "Jason." I hit record before I pick up. "Ohio is one-party consent, and I've decided to be the party." "Finally," he says. "You going to fix the article problem, or do I have to do everything?" "You have a lot of experience doing everything," I say. "Treasurer, fundraiser chair, LLC creator, busy man." A beat of silence, then a laugh that doesn't reach his throat. "What conspiracy blog are you on now?" "No blogs," I say. "Public records, vendor lists, state filings. Funny how Midwest Wellness and JRW Solutions share a heartbeat." "That's a coincidence," he snaps. "And even if it weren't, what?" I keep my voice level. "Even if HOA money ended up in your company for consulting, that looks a lot like steak nights. You know reimbursements require receipts, right? Not boomerangs. You don't understand how these things work," he says, the classic refuge. "Sometimes we move funds temporarily to cover timing. It balances out. Temporarily," I repeat, letting the word sit under the mic. "So HOA funds temporarily hit an entity you control, then you temporarily post a watch and a ribeye. You're twisting this," he hisses. "And you're recording me, aren't you?" "I'm memorializing," I say. Boundaries are easier to enforce when they're not imaginary. Careful, he says, voice going quiet in that way bullies think is scary. You start flinging accusations, I'll open your closet. Open it, I say. It's full of binders. He hangs up. I save the audio. Name it YYY, Jason temporarily, mauve, and drop it into the folder labeled voice memos. Anchor motif #2 is now in play. The sound of a man trying to narrate gravity. David calls before I can text him. Tell me you recorded that. I did, I say, and paraphrase his phrasing temporarily. Balances out and the quick defensive pivot when I named the LLC. Lovely, David says. That's not an admission, but it's the sound of one warming up. Next step. Statutory rights. He explains how most HOAs and nonprofits are bound by bylaws and state statutes that give members the right to inspect books and records at reasonable times for proper purposes. We're not fishing, he says. We have a proper purpose, to verify disbursements and ensure no self-dealing. We'll request vendor files, invoices, 1,099 seconds to any entity controlled by board members, bank statements for the HOA operating account for the last 12 months, and minutes for any vote that approved payments to affiliated entities. I'll send the formal request, he says, but it will land better if a member submits it too. Are you titled on the deed? I am, I say. Great, he says. You have standing. Also, pull the fundraiser's paperwork. If there are 501(3), Form 990 seconds are public. If they're not, they still owe donors clarity. And the pawn. I draft a polite, clinical email to the HOA board. I request an opportunity to inspect the association's books and records, including but not limited to vendor contracts, invoices, reimbursement requests, bank statements, and 1,099 seconds for the prior fiscal year. I cite the bylaws section on financial transparency like a spell. I CC David and print a copy for the blue binder, tabbed HOA, request. While the ink dries, I comb Jason's wellness fundraiser site. The donations go through a payment processor linked to a Gmail account that uses Jason's gym handle. There's no EIN on the landing page, no mention of tax deductibility, just a promise of impact and a carousel of sweaty selfies under the word community. I take screenshots of everything, even the typo in receipts emailed. Emily knocks again, tentative. I need to see the thing you won't show me unless I ask twice. I swivel the monitor. Instagram dates. HOA minutes. State filings. The chart. She covers her mouth with her hand. He said he was saving the HOA money by using trusted vendors. He saved them the trouble of writing 2 checks, I say. They only needed 1. She stares at the screen a long time. When she speaks, her voice is different, flatter, truer. I'll stop trying to make this softer than it is. Softness is for pillows, I say. This is granite. Her phone buzzes. It's their mother, calling to report that the article has legs and the neighbors are concerned. Emily silences it and looks at me. Do we go public? She asks. Not yet, I say. We go precise. Let him float on his story while we weigh ours with documents. When we reveal, it's in a room where signatures are oxygen. The HOA president replies within the hour with a bland courtesy. We have received your request. The board will respond within 5 business days. David forwards me his formal letter a minute later. Certified plus email. The legal equivalent of a knock you can't pretend you didn't hear. At 5 p.m. the gym's group chat leaks to me via a friend of a friend. I never asked for it. But truth likes to triangulate too. Screenshots. Populate. My messages. Jason ranting about haters, accusing me of financial abuse because I weaponized money by stopping. Dangling a "you won't believe what I know" threat that reads like a toddler holding his breath. 3 trainers drop, clapping emojis. 2 say nothing. 1 asks an honest question. Did the HOA approve payments to your company? And gets ghosted. I add the screenshots to defamation file divided by exhibits. Then I open a blank doc and title it Pattern. Under it I write short, courtroom-ready sentences. He excludes, then demands a favor to prove I'm included. He insults, then invoices. He spends, then spiritualizes. Tone, community, tradition. He threatens, then plays victim. He touches other people's money, then posts luxuries. He says temporary. The stake stays forever. The house is quiet enough to hear the refrigerator cycle. I play the voice memo again. Temporarily. It balances out. I add a transcript to the folder. Line numbered, time-stamped. David will want it that way. By 9, Emily and I sit at the table with 2 mugs and a truth neither of us wanted. She picks up the sticky note from Dr. Miller. The boundary is not what I say to him. It's what I promise myself, and presses it flat with her thumb. I'm promising, she says. To whom? I ask. To myself, she says. And to you. I nod. Then here's my promise. We don't let his chaos colonize our home. We don't talk about him after 9. We don't check the comments. We take walks. We make French toast too often. She smiles with the kind of sadness that eventually becomes a different thing. Deal. Before bed, I double-check the calendar. The country club gala Jason's been hyping is in 3 nights. His stage, his donors, his audience. I'm not interested in humiliation. I'm interested in math. I print 20 blue binder light packets. The ACH summary, the HOA minutes with vendor names highlighted, the state filing tie-in, the weather screen, the certified mail card, and the 1-page notice of boundary. No adjectives, no rants, just nouns and numbers. I label a new folder, country club, presentation, not a performance, a report. If Jason wants to live by optics, he can die by oversight. The snow has started again, fine as sifted sugar. I set my phone to do not disturb and my conscience to do not enable. Somewhere in the distance, an ego polishes a speech about community. Somewhere in my office, a binder gets heavier. Country clubs all smell the same cologne, carpet cleaner, and money pretending to be manners. I park 2 blocks away so no one clocks my plate, sling the messenger bag across my shoulder, and walk in with the kind of calm you get from having a plan and a paper trail. The foyer is a museum of donors. Brass plaques line the wall, engraved with last names that double as street names. A poster on an easel reads, Wellness Gala in a serif font trying too hard. Below it, a QR code for donations. I scan it. The payment page pops up to a processor tied to a Gmail with Jason's gym handle. No EIN, no disclosure about tax deductibility, no mailing address. I screenshot every pixel like it's an endangered species. A volunteer at the check-in table smiles with teeth perfected by orthodontia and privilege. Name? Michael. I say. I give my last name. She scans a list. It's not there. I'm a guest of David, I add. And point to a man in a navy blazer across the room, already melting into the architecture like he was born in it. She waves me through and hands me a program. The schedule is choreography dressed as charity. Cocktails, remarks, live auction, paddle raise, DJ. Jason's name appears 3 times. Welcome, mission story, closing thanks. Ryan texts from the parking lot. Here. Trunk is a print shop. Where do you want the packets? There are 20 blue binder light packets in his back seat, each comb-bound and tabbed. We stage them like disaster relief. I tell him to bring 5 to the coat check, 5 to the bar, 5 to the silent auction table, and keep 5 with him. He's wearing a suit he hates, and a face he loves to use when he's doing something righteous. He grins when he sees me. Nice place, he says under his breath. Do they sell soul repellent at the pro shop? Focus, I say. Coordinated drop after welcome. If anyone asks, you're with operations. Say it like a password. He tips an imaginary cap. Aye, operations. David appears at my shoulder like he has a key to the room. He doesn't shake my hand. He nods once. Eyes somewhere between satisfied and hunting. We're in good shape, he says. Letters delivered this afternoon. HOA board, club board, event committee chair. Certified in email. They've been on notice to preserve since 3 p.m. I also sent the reporter a supplemental packet with your exhibits. She replied. Received. Good. Let her sweat. Plan here? I ask. We don't storm the stage, he says. We control oxygen. You will not speak into microphones. Paper will. I'll be 5 steps behind you with envelopes if anyone decides to get brave. The ballroom doors open. Inside, tables bloom with white linen and centerpieces that look like they're auditioning for a wedding. On the far wall, a silent auction table glitters with donations. A basket of skincare products. A wellness retreat weekend. 2 courtside tickets Jason definitely didn't pay for. I do a slow lap. Every table has a tent card listing sponsors. A bank, a law firm, 3 realtors. Jason's gym. I take photos of each. The volunteer MC does warm-up patter at the mic, then welcomes our fearless wellness champion, Jason Whitman. He strides up like a man who believes in mirrors. Dark suit, bright pocket square, smile calibrated for a dentist's postcard. The microphone loves him. Community, he starts, arms open like he's hugging an audience. That's why we're here, not because we have to be, but because we choose to be. To step up, to give back. I've heard him perform this monologue in different rooms with different nouns. Tonight it's wellness. Last month it was fitness. The verbs are always the same. Step up, give back. The money always goes one direction. He name drops the club president, the HOA, his partners, and cues a sizzle reel of gym clips, kettlebells in slow motion, sweaty high fives, a black and white shot of him staring into the middle distance like he's thinking about justice. When the lights come up, the room is primed. The MC announces a short break before the live auction. People stand, stretch, hunt for the bar. I nod at Ryan. He nods back. The drop begins. At coat check, a row of blue binder light packets slides into a wicker tray labeled Community Resources. At the bar, the packets fan out next to the wine list. At the silent auction, they line the edge like placemats. Ryan hands packets to 2 servers, who place them on table after table with the efficiency of people who bring things to rich people for a living. I take the main artery, the sponsor table. I set a stack next to the sign-in sheet with a sticky note. Financial transparency packet, for donors and board. Then I walk away. There's a shift you can hear when paper starts telling a story. The first sound is curiosity, the rustle of a page turned by someone who thinks they're reading a program insert. Then silence, as their eyes find numbers. Then the hush that spreads across a room when 100 little pulses of doubt synchronize. At my 10 o'clock, a realtor reads out loud to her table. First Community Mortgage ACH transfers $2,600. 36 months? A banker next to her leans in and taps the HOA minutes with one manicured nail. Midwest Wellness? Who the hell is that? Across the room, a sponsor in a navy suit with attorney posture is already scrolling the state business registry on his phone. His eyebrows go up when he finds JRW Solutions. He looks at the packet, then at Jason on the stage, then back at the packet like he just saw a magic trick and figured out where the rabbit was hidden. At the silent auction, 2 women whisper in the sharp way people whisper when they feel stupid for not noticing something sooner. One touches the wellness retreat flyer and says, "Is this even tax deductible?" The other reads the QR code page for donations and shakes her head. No EIN. No address. This is not okay. David taps my elbow and tilts his chin toward the dais. Watch the club president, he says. He just read page 2 and looked at page 3 like it bit him. Sees. The club president is a man who looks like he can smell a lawsuit from a golf cart. He summons the event chair with a flick of his finger. She approaches, smiling. He hands her the packet. Her smile doesn't survive page 1. They both look at Jason, then at each other, then at the door. Like it might be a solution, the MC taps the mic again. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could take our seats. Half the room is already sitting. But not to hear the auction. They're reading. Phones are out. Photos are being taken. I spot the HOA vice president. Her signature is on 3 of the minutes I highlighted. Reading the vendor list with a face that belongs at a deposition, not a gala. Jason senses the drift. He steps forward, hands up. Looks like you're all excited to give tonight, he says. Let's channel that energy into our paddle raise. Bad read. The room doesn't rise. It curls around paper, like a cat around a sunbeam. Someone near the back stands. It's the bank sponsor. He holds up the packet. Jason, he says in a voice built for loan denials. Is Midwest Wellness LLC affiliated with you? The microphone picks up the question and flings it at the chandeliers. Jason tries a smile. The one designed to slide between hard questions. We work with a lot of vendors, he says. We're a small community. Relationships matter. 9. Answer the question, the banker says. Is it affiliated with you? It's a partner, Jason says. We lean on partners. We're lean. It balances out. The phrase lands like a confession to anyone who's ever seen a ledger. David whispers. We're recording this. Yes, my phone is angled low, the voice memo app already naming a file in the background. I move toward the side aisle to get a clear audio line. Ryan slides closer to the silent auction table, close enough to intercept hands that might try to sweep evidence into a trash can. The HOA vice president stands now too. Our bylaws prohibit payments to entities controlled by board members without disclosure and a vote, she says to no one and everyone. And we require receipts. We will be inspecting books and records. Jason pivots to victim, a costume he keeps pressed. This feels like an ambush, he says. We're here to do good. If you've got questions, we can handle them offline, not ruin a beautiful night. The club president steps to the mic without asking. He doesn't raise his voice. He lowers the temperature. We're suspending the live auction and paddle raise pending clarification of the event's charitable status and financial arrangements, he says. Bar remains open. Dinner service will continue. Mr. Whitman, please join me and the event chair in the boardroom. He tries to hand Jason an exit with dignity. Jason declines it. I won't be bullied, he says, louder. This is a pattern, certain people trying to tear down community builders. I could clock the room on a heart monitor. Sponsors pull in their hearts. Donors pull back their hands. Staff keep moving plates because tips are not optional. The event chair glances at the club president like she wants to cry and scream at the same time. A kid bussing water glasses watches the scene with the interest of someone who just learned what power actually looks like. David touches my arm and leaves an envelope in my hand. For the board, he says, preservation notice plus a reminder about facility liability. If they keep collecting funds under a potentially misleading banner, they'll close the spigot themselves. I walk to the boardroom with the ease of a man delivering mail. A staffer tries to block me. I smile and say, legal delivery, and use the word like a magic key. The club president takes the envelope without looking surprised, opens it, and scans the first paragraph. He nods once. To the event chair, he says, freeze the QR code. Tell the bar to remove the donation posters. When I come back to the ballroom, the QR placards are already gone. At the bar, a server is collecting the blue binder light stack, then hesitates, looks around, and leaves it where it is. People are still reading. Eyes are sharp now. The room has flipped from performative generosity to practical accountability, without raising a voice. Ryan elbows me gently. You didn't say a word into a mic, he says, satisfied. You said everything. Jason reappears 10 minutes later, jaw set to stubborn. He grabs the mic again. We're pausing the fundraising portion, he says, trying to own a pause that isn't his. We'll clear up questions and update everyone. In the meantime, enjoy the night. No one claps. The DJ makes a brave decision and starts something jazzy like nothing happened. Something happened. David texts. Leave packets on sponsor tables and at coat check. No more movement. We're done. Also, nice question from the banker. He'll make an excellent witness. Emily texts. I heard. My mother is asking if this is your doing. I type. This is the document's doing. I just brought them to where people could see. I collect nothing. I add nothing. I stand and watch as the room keeps doing the math. People who had come to be seen doing good are now very interested in not being seen funding something ambiguous. It's not humiliation. It's hygiene. On my way out, I pass the easel that used to hold the donation QR. In its place is a blank space and a small sign. Donations temporarily paused. Thank you for your understanding. I take a photo because it's proof that paper can move a room more than a microphone. In the foyer, the check-in volunteer looks rattled but professional. She sees the packet in my hand and lowers her voice. Is it real? She asks, meaning the numbers. It's paper, I say. Paper is hard to fake. Outside, the air is a clean slap. Ryan breathes it like medicine. You ever notice how quiet it is after a lie gets evicted? Quiet like a ledger, I say. David joins us, hands in pockets, eyes alive. Tomorrow, the HOA will schedule an emergency meeting. The club board will draft a statement. The reporter will ask for comment. We'll give her facts, not feelings. Then we'll set the stage for part 2. What's part 2? Ryan asks. David smiles without showing teeth. We bring voice to the paper, the memo you recorded, the timeline, the receipts. And we ask a better room, a better question. He looks at me. Ready? I think about the blue binder, the binder light, the ring clip, the weather. I think about Emily's face when she saw the filings. I think about Jason saying temporarily, like gravity is a rounding error. Ready, I say. We split into the night, 3 men in coats carrying nothing visible and everything needed. The club behind us hums with small talk trying to cover big doubt. The next move is already on the calendar. Not a rant, a report, not a fight, a reckoning. The HOA calls an emergency session in the community center that usually hosts toddler yoga and bingo. Tonight, the folding chairs feel like a jury box. A sign on the door reads "Board meeting members only." Below it, someone taped my favorite word: transparency. I take a seat in the second row with the blue binder on my lap and the light packets in a tote. David sits on the aisle, legal pad out, suit quiet. The banker from the gala is in the back, arms folded, eyes predatory. The HOA vice president, now acting chair for the night, gavel taps a plastic clipboard. This meeting is to address concerns regarding disbursements to vendors potentially affiliated with a board member. She says, "We will proceed under the bylaws, Section 7, Financial Oversight, and Section 9, Conflicts of Interest." Jason is here. Jaw set, blazer wrinkled. He picks a seat by the wall like he wants to be seen and not cornered. Emily sits beside me, hands clasped, shoulders square. The acting chair begins. "We have received a member request to inspect books and records. We have also received a letter from counsel." She nods toward David. "Preserving evidence. Our agenda: 1. Vendor affiliations. 2. Disbursement procedures. 3. Immediate remedies." She gestures. "Michael, as the requesting member, you may summarize your concerns." I stand only enough to be polite. No speech, no performance. The minutes reflect payments to entities called Midwest Wellness LLC and Prime Performance Events. I say, state filings show an ownership chain to JRW Solutions, organized by Jason R. Whitman. On the dates of disbursement approvals, there are social media posts consistent with personal luxury spending. I'm requesting full inspection of the books and records, vendor contracts, invoices, reimbursements, bank statements, and 1,099 seconds to determine whether there's self-dealing or missing documentation. I sit. Paper keeps talking. Jason jumps in. "This is harassment. Those vendors provided real services, community classes, event coordination. We moved money temporarily to cover timing. It balances out." The acting chair looks at him without blinking. "Do you have written contracts and receipts for all payments to those vendors?" "Of course," he says. "Some might be, pending uploads." David raises a finger. "Madam Chair, for the record, Ohio Revised Code and your bylaws require you to maintain complete records and provide them to members for proper purposes. We've requested preservation, deleting, altering, or backfilling documents after notice is spoliation." The room shifts. The word has gravity. The banker stands. "Conflict of interest policy?" he asks. The vice president flips to a tab. Section 9, B. Board members must disclose any financial interest in vendors and recuse from votes. Payments to affiliated entities require a 2/3 vote and documented market rate justification. She looks at Jason. "Did you disclose?" He spreads his hands. "Everyone knows I run wellness stuff. It's implied." "Disclosure isn't implied," she says. "It's written." David leans toward the mic on the table. "May I provide 2 exhibits? One is a state filing linking Midwest Wellness to JRW Solutions. The other is an audio clip relevant to the board's assessment of candor." She nods. "Submit and summarize." I pass up printed state records with URLs and timestamps. Then I push play on my phone. Jason's voice fills the toddler yoga room. "Sometimes we move funds temporarily to cover timing. It balances out. You can hear the oxygen recalibrate." No one speaks during the 12-second clip. It's not a smoking gun. It's the smell of smoke in the nursery. Jason lurches toward indignation. "Ohio is 2-party consent," he says, too loud. David doesn't look up from his pad. "Ohio is 1 party. He was the party." The vice president folds her hands. "Motion on the floor?" The banker is ready. I move to 1. Suspend Jason from his duties as treasurer, pending a forensic review. 2. Engage an independent CPA firm to conduct a forensic audit of the last 12 months of disbursements. 3. Freeze all non-essential payments. 4. Require immediate turnover of all books, bank access, and vendor files. And 5. Notify the association's insurer. A woman in a fleece vest, quiet all night, says, "I second." "Discussion?" the chair asks. Jason tries a last pivot. This is overkill. We're talking about community events. The chair answers with bylaws. We're talking about fiduciary duty. Vote, she says. Hands go up like verdicts. Motion passes, 6-0. The room exhales. The vice president turns to the manager. Please retrieve the treasurer laptop and revoke Jason's online banking access. Effective now. You can feel the cut in the cord. Jason's face goes blank, then red. We'll need a list of all vendors paid in the last 12 months, the banker adds. And 1,099 seconds issued. If Midwest Wellness or Prime Performance are affiliated, we'll claw back anything not documented. The chair nods. Also, an emergency meeting for members in 7 days. Transparency session. Bring documentation, bring questions. David slides an envelope onto the table. Here's our preservation letter again. Plus a reminder. Any destruction or alteration after tonight will be considered intentional. Judges don't like intentional. The club board meets right after, in the same room, without the bingo vibe. The president is already holding one of our packets. He taps it twice. Effective immediately, he says. The club suspends fundraising privileges for Mr. Whitman's wellness events pending confirmation of charitable status, EIN, and receipts. All QR codes were removed last night. We are also contacting donors to clarify deductibility. I am too. Come and be enraged. Jason stands at the back, caneless rage propping him up. You're ruining a good thing. No, the president says. We are cleaning a messy thing. The reporter is here, Patricia, sitting quietly in the corner like a study in pen and patience. She approaches at the break, recorder visible. Mr. Michael, do you want to comment on the article? I want to comment on facts, I say. I hand her a packet. Weather records, 46 degrees Fahrenheit, clear, my call log, the certified mail green card, the ACH cancellation email, the audio transcript. If you print words about me, print those. If you print words about them, print the bylaws and the vote. She reads the first page in real time. When she gets to the weather exhibit, she winces. We'll be issuing a correction, she says quietly. And possibly a separate piece. Not possibly, David says, appearing like punctuation. And please note in your correction that you were given documented facts upon request and have preserved all drafts and communications related to the first story. The term of art is reckless disregard. We'd hate to use it. Her eyes flick up, then back to the paper. Understood. Back in the HOA room, the property manager returns with a plastic file box and a club logo laptop. Treasurer's materials, she says. We're inventorying them on video. The vice president signs a chain of custody sheet like this is evidence, which it is. Jason mutters, "This is insane," and makes for the door. The banker calls after him, voice mild, words pointed. Bring your W-9 seconds, Jason. For Midwest Wellness, and Prime Performance, and JRW Solutions. He doesn't turn. He leaves like a man who thought the building was his and discovered it's rented month to month. Mrs. Whitaker, saint of the ring camera, slides into the seat next to Emily. I brought brownies, she whispers, as if smuggling contraband empathy. And the footage. Dear. We watch the clip together one more time, Jason's in-laws pounding my door. The timestamp bright, the weather dry. Nobody cheers, nobody needs to. It's not about applause. It's about alignment. The chair looks at me. Michael, thank you for coming forward, she says. We don't love conflict here, but we love accountability more. On the way out, the banker catches my arm. You kept your voice low and your paper high, he says. That's rare. Loud didn't work for me, I say. Paper does. David joins us on the sidewalk, breath making quick clouds. Next moves, he says, crisp. Club will email donors. HOA will schedule the audit and public meeting. Reporter will draft a correction. He points between me and my binder. Prepare a single, comprehensive deck. Timeline. ACH. HOA minutes. Filings. Audio transcript. We'll present it once in the member meeting with exhibits on a thumb drive for the record. And Jason? Emily asks. He'll do what narcissists do when mirrors don't flatter. David says. He'll rage, then rebrand. Our job is to make the paperwork follow him like a shadow. Emily nods, eyes older tonight in a good way. I won't carry messages anymore, she says. If he texts, I'll send him the HOA email. Good, David says. Boundaries with forwarding. At home, I add 3 new tabs. HOA, suspension, club, suspension, media, correction. I print the vote tally and the club's statement when it lands. I clip the ring affidavit Mrs. Whitaker signs at our kitchen table, her brownie tin between us like communion. My phone pings at 9:13 p.m. It's an email from Patricia. Subject: correction, body. We have updated the online article to remove references to dangerous weather and have added that you dispute the characterization of events, providing documentation. A fuller piece is in progress. I reply, please add that a correction was prompted by documented facts provided and an on-the-record vote by the HOA to initiate a forensic audit. 1 minute later, added, have say the doys were of the clan. I forward the exchange to David and slide the printout into the media correction tab. The binder closes with a sound I've come to love. Pages aligning. I pour 2 glasses of water and hand one to Emily. We don't toast. We don't exhale confetti. We stand at the window and watch the cul-de-sac sit still and honest under streetlights. The showy part is over. The necessary part is underway. In the quiet, an odd gratitude surfaces not for the mess, but for the map. My operating system holds. Don't argue. Document. Notify. Enforce. Tonight, the room obeyed paper. Tomorrow, it will obey deadlines. Before bed, I write 1 sentence at the top of a new page. You don't beat a lie by shouting. You beat it by auditing. Then I set an alarm I've never set before. HOA member meeting 7 days. Bring thumb drive. And underneath, a calendar note David asked me to add as a promise to myself. Remember, boundaries aren't a speech. They're a sequence. The forensic CPA moves fast when fear is in the water. By noon the next day, the acting chair forwards an email, stamped preliminary exceptions list, from a firm with 3 last names and a logo that looks expensive on purpose. It's not a full report, just a triage, but triage is where you learn where the bleeding starts. Exception 1. Related party payments without disclosure. Midwest Wellness LLC and Prime Performance Events. Common mailing address with JRW Solutions. Incorporated, organized by Jason R. Whitman. Exception 2. Missing receipts for reimbursements over $500, 9 instances. Memos reference community class with no accompanying invoice. Exception 3. Round number withdrawals from operating account, $2,000, $3,000, $1,000, $500, labeled temporary float. No deposits showing balancing entries. Exception 4. 1,099, issued to Midwest Wellness LLC at a residential address. W-9 signature, illegible. No printed name. Exception 5. Equipment storage fee paid to Whitman Performance Holdings new entity. No vendor file. The CPA flags them yellow like a lifeguard. At the bottom, recommendation freeze discretionary spending, secure bank access, request vendor files and signed conflict disclosures, interview treasurer. I print it and slide it under a new tab, CPA, prelim. Before the hole punches cool, David calls. You at your desk? He asks. Good, I'm 2 minutes out. He arrives with a folder and a look I haven't seen on him before, something personal threaded into professional. He doesn't sit. He circles once, like a man deciding where to put a heavy truth. 2 things, he says. 1 legal, 1 human. And donde with a bride. Legal first, I say. Always. He lays out the folder. We subpoenaed nothing yet, but the board's preservation notice flushed out copies of vendor W-9 seconds and 1 odd document the property manager found in a treasurer Google Drive, a DocuSign envelope for a personal guarantee on a gym equipment lease. He taps the first page. Guarantor, Catherine Lewis, your mother-in-law. Emily, standing in the doorway, takes a small step in and then freezes. My mom would never. She starts, then stops because never doesn't belong to this week anymore. David flips to the DocuSign audit trail. It shows Catherine's email, but the IP address geolocates to Jason's gym. Signature executed at 11:14 p.m. on a night your mother was posting photos from her book club across town. He points at the metadata. Same device signed the vendor W-9 for Midwest Wellness. The room tilts and then rights itself. Emily grips the back of the chair like a railing on a ship. Is that forgery? She asks, voice paper thin. It's at least unauthorized execution, David says. Potential forgery and identity fraud, depending on facts. We're not the police, so we don't label it. We document it, preserve it, and hand it to the people who do label things. My mouth goes dry. What does it guarantee? $48,000 equipment lease, he says. Default provisions trigger personal liability, liens, and creative collections. He looks at Emily. If your mother starts getting letters, she will need counsel. I'll give you referrals who don't flinch. Emily's phone is already out. She dials her mother, puts it on speaker. It rings twice. Sweetie? Catherine answers, breathless, already mid-crisis. They're saying terrible things about Jason. Mom, Emily says, steady. Did you sign anything for his gym? A guarantee? What? No. Why would I? Jason handles his own. She trails off. Is this about the equipment? He said something about a delivery. Emily. I didn't sign anything. And the 70 does. Check your email for DocuSign notices around October 12th, Emily says. And your spam. There's a rustle, the hollow echo of a woman riffling through a digital life. Oh my God, there's a DocuSign completed email. I never how. Screenshot it, Emily says. Forward to me and to David. She spells the address like a lifeline. Don't reply to anyone else. Don't call Jason. Don't call the leasing company. We'll handle it. Catherine whispers, small and furious at once. He used me. We'll protect you, Emily says. Promise. After the call, the promise hangs in the room like a flag that wasn't there yesterday. David nods at it, then returns to the folder. Now the human thing, he says, softer. You asked me last week why I took this case so fast. I told you I like clean facts. That's true. It's not the whole truth. He sits, finally, like he's come to the part that requires gravity. When I was 21, my mother remarried a man who mentored entrepreneurs. He mentored her into co-signing 3 loans, signing 2 credit card applications, and putting her name on a shell that siphoned donor funds at a church bake sale level. It didn't make the papers. It made our lives small for a long time. He looks at the blue binder. I watched her apologize to wolves. I became a lawyer because you can turn paper into a fence. That is a 9. The room is quiet enough to hear the HVAC sigh. It's not pity that lands, it's recognition. I'm not going to be noble and say this is about closure. He continues. It's about competence. And rage I domesticated. Men like Jason count on silence and shame. I prefer record requests and chain of custody. He clears his throat like he's closing a chapter only he could open. Then the lawyer returns. We need to decide our sequencing, he says. Criminal exposure exists now, identity fraud, maybe wire fraud. We don't brand it that. We hand the audit trail to the HOA counsel and, if needed, to a detective. Separate lanes. Our civil lane remains defamation and any economic harm, but our leverage just increased. I breathe through it. So, HOA audit continues. Club suspension stands. Reporter writes a correction piece. We prepare our deck for the member meeting. And Catherine gets her own lawyer. Exactly, he says. Also no ambushes with the guarantee. It's not a ballroom moment. That's a kitchen table document that goes from a calm hand to the right inbox with receipts. Emily's staring at the DocuSign trail like it could bite again. He did this with my mother's name, she says. He brought her into the blast radius. He always does, I say, the pattern reasserting itself with cruel clarity. Triangulation, as a business model. Thanks to tenure by there in a mind. She tucks hair behind her ear with the mechanical grace of someone assembling herself in real time. I'm done carrying messages, she says. From him, to you, to my mother. Everyone can email counsel. David smiles without humor. Welcome to the Boundary Bar. My phone buzzes an email from the newspaper. Subject, update in progress. Body. We will run a correction and a separate feature on HOA governance and donor transparency. Requesting interview with Michael and with HOA acting chair. I forward it to David. We will provide answers in writing. No on-camera quotes. He replies with a thumbs up and a line. Narratives are for them. Exhibits are for us. Dis to now word graphitis of ends. From the CPA, another ping. We visited the bank. Treasurer user login disabled. Downloaded last 12 months of statements. Observed cash withdrawals coinciding with wellnesses events. Need vendor contracts. Please produce within 48 hours. The acting chair forwards the CPA's email to the entire board and to Jason with a hard deadline and a line that sounds like a bell tolling. Failure to provide will be documented in the report. I add every message to the binder: CPA, prelim, OA, action, media, core. The tabs thicken. The weight is its own morale. In the evening, Emily and I drive to her parents' house. Catherine meets us at the door with a file folder and a look I recognize from Mirror's, humiliated and incandescent. She spreads DocuSign emails on the kitchen table. Completed. Personal guarantee. Completed. W-9. Completed. Vendor agreement. Dates cluster like a rash. The audit trails all point to the same IP fingerprint. The gym's network. Catherine is trembling, but her voice is sharp. He used my name as insulation. We're going to peel him off, I say. David's referral, a white-haired attorney named Karen Liu, joins by speakerphone. She takes Catherine's statement like a surgeon taking vitals, efficient, reassuring, unflinching. Do not contact the leasing company, she says. We will. We'll send a fraud affidavit with the DocuSign logs attached and a letter demanding they cease collection against Miss Lewis pending investigation. We will also notify the police department with a packet. No theatrics. Paper only. Catherine exhales like a person who just learned air is still legal. Thank you. When we leave, she hugs Emily for too long, and me for a second longer than either of us expected. On the porch, Emily leans into my shoulder. I used to think boundaries were cruel, she says. Now I think they're seatbelts. Seatbelts don't stop crashes, I say. They stop funerals. At home, the inbox keeps clacking. The club board sends a formal notice. Fundraising privileges suspended, pending documentation of charitable status. EIN. Bank account and organization's name, and receipts. The HOA announces the member meeting agenda, forensic audit overview. Interim controls. Q&A. And invites written questions in advance. Patricia, the reporter, sends 3. What triggered your boundary decision? What would accountability look like to you? What do you say to people who think this is family business? I answer in 1 paragraph. Boundaries aren't punishment, they're policy. Accountability looks like transparency, restitution if needed, and no more lies on paper or in public. Family business stops being private when you turn it into a public narrative that harms people. We didn't choose to make this public. We chose to make it true. David texts a single line. That sentence ends a segment. Ryan chimes in with something less lawyerly and more Ryan. He forges mom-in-law. Man's playing DUI with a lit match. Now, I set the phone down. The house has that late-night oxygen again. I tape a new line inside the blue binder cover. Under my rules, don't confuse compassion with concessions. Then I write another, smaller. Paper is how love protects itself. Emily appears in the doorway in an old college sweatshirt, eyes clear. Tell me again, she says. What happens next? Curated. Soon, I say. The CPA will present a preliminary report to the membership. The board will vote to refer anything suspicious to council and, if necessary, to law enforcement. The club will require EIN and receipts before any fundraising resumes. The paper will run a correction and maybe a story about governance. Catherine will have a lawyer. Jason will have fewer microphones. And us? She asks. We cook breakfast, I say. We answer in writing. We don't argue with people who use our love as collateral. We show up to the member meeting with a thumb drive and leave with a paper trail that can't be undone by brunch. She comes closer, rests her forehead against mine. Was I enabling? She whispers, not asking for absolution, just asking. Both of us were, I say. That's over. Outside, the cul-de-sac is quiet enough to hear the flag on our mailbox flap once in a late breeze. I make a note for tomorrow. Deliver Catherine's packet to Liu, hard copy. Another for my own spine. Do not let outrage write emails. Let facts write letters. Before bed, David sends one more text I read twice. I told you my why. Here's your how. We audit, we remedy, we memorialize. Then we move on. Victories don't need victory laps. They need clean books. I put the phone face down and turn off the light. The blue binder rests against the wall like a shield leaning where I can reach it in the dark. Boundaries hold, paper waits. In 7 days, a room full of neighbors will meet our favorite kind of story. The kind where the numbers don't need adjectives. The preliminary audit lands like a clean hammer. The subject line is unromantic. Forensic review. Initial findings. Yet the body reads like a map of every shortcut Jason ever took. The acting chair schedules a member briefing for Thursday, attaches the exception list, and adds 3 sentences that feel like a verdict. Treasurer suspended. Discretionary spend frozen. Records secured. 10 minutes later, the country club emails donors. Fundraising paused pending documentation. They ask anyone who gave through Jason's QR to reply with the amount and whether they intended a tax-deductible gift. The polite phrasing is a scalpel. It slices directly at the softest tissue trust. David forwards a draft with the kind of subject line that produces posture. Settlement proposal, without prejudice. Whitman. He calls before I finish the second paragraph. This isn't mercy, he says. It's leverage used responsibly. We give him an off-ramp before we pave the road. We walk through the terms together, numbering each like rungs on a ladder. Retraction and apology. Public and specific. Jason will send a retraction to the newspaper, acknowledging that his statements about me were false, made in retaliation after I ended financial support, and that there was no dangerous weather. He will post the same language on the gym's channels for 14 days. Non-disparagement. Mutual. Permanent. Restitution. Repay to the HOA any amounts the audit identifies as undocumented or related party without disclosure, plus fees for the CPA review. Repay to me $4,500 from the holding loan and $422 for the emergency plumber. All repayments through council escrow within 60 days. Cease and desist. No further requests for money, rides, favors, or access to any of my accounts or cards. No scheduling me for tasks. Document production. Provide vendor contracts, invoices, W-9 seconds, 1,099 seconds, bank statements, and conflict disclosures for all entities. Midwest Wellness. Prime Performance, JRW Solutions within 10 days. Governance. Resign as HOA treasurer and step down from event fundraising at the club for a minimum of 24 months. Catherine Carve-out. Acknowledge in writing that Catherine Lewis did not execute the personal guarantee. Cooperate with her counsel's fraud affidavit and any investigation. Liquidated damages. $25,000 for each breach of non-disparagement or cease and desist, plus fees. No admission. Standard language, so his ego can sign something his mouth wouldn't say. Enforcement. Consent to jurisdiction and injunctive relief. If he signs, David says, we avoid years of litigation and still fix the damage. If he balks, we file. Your case file is a staircase. I read the draft in silence, then asked the only question I care about. Does this protect Emily and her mother? It protects truth, he says, and stops the bleeding. Separate from this, Catherine's lawyer will handle the guarantee and any criminal referral. Lanes stay clean. They should southern. We send the proposal by email and overnight courier. The email returns a vacation responder tone. Received. The courier's tracking updates. Delivered. Signed by J. Whitman. Paper touches his door before shame ever will. Emily sets 2 mugs on my desk, reads the terms, and exhales something that's not quite relief and not quite rage. More like the sound a bridge makes when it finally bears weight correctly. He'll call me, she says. He'll email me, I say. You get to be a wife, not a switchboard. She nods. Then we need our own agreement. We draft it at the kitchen table like 2 people upgrading an operating system. We write it down because paper makes love durable. We do not borrow or lend money within the family without written terms and independent counsel. We do not hide financial favors under tradition. We do not carry messages. Email Michael is a complete sentence. We attend therapy together monthly for 6 months. We celebrate holidays with people who respect our boundaries. Invitations are not obligations. If Jason escalates, we de-escalate. No late-night responses. No emotional wiring to his emergencies. If there's a choice between being liked and being safe, we choose safe. We both sign and date it. It's not notarized. It doesn't need to be. It's a will lowercase w about how we will live. The reporter's correction runs online at 4:13 p.m. An earlier version misstated weather conditions and omitted context about a financial dispute following the termination of support. A forensic review has been initiated by the HOA. It's not poetry, but it's honest. She emails me separately. Feature tomorrow, governance and boundaries. She asks for 1 sentence to end her piece. I write, boundaries aren't revenge, they're repairs. David replies with a rare emoji. At 6:02 p.m., Jason breaks the non-existent ceasefire with a text to Emily. You're choosing him over family. Fix this. The gym is bleeding. She forwards it to me without comment. I forward it to David with one line. Exhibit. Triangulation. Post notice. He replies. Added. Then he sends a draft C&D addressed to Jason, referencing our proposal, reminding him all communications must go through counsel, and warning that further attempts to coerce Emily will be used as evidence of harassment. At 7:30, Mrs. Whitaker knocks with soup in a mason jar and fresh gossip in a whisper. The auditor's car was at the property manager's until 8, she says, eyes shining with civic purpose. And Linda from the board told my bridge table that the club already pulled the donation totals for the IRS letter. Thank you, I say, for the soup and the surveillance. She pats my arm. We all do what we're good at. The next morning, the HOA blasts the membership with the meeting agenda and infrequently asked questions titled, What happens when controls fail? It's embarrassingly clear and blessedly boring. Define related parties, cite bylaws, bullet the audit steps, explain how restitution works if the CPA finds losses. They include a link to submit questions. I send one. Will the forensic report include vendor ownership and conflict disclosures? The acting chair replies in 5 minutes. Yes. At noon, Jason's lawyer appears Gmail address. No signature block asking for an extension, due to the holidays. David forwards a reply so dry it could be kindling. Deadlines remain. We will consider reasonable accommodations upon receipt of 1. Signed non-disparagement. 2. Vendor list. 3. Immediate resignation as treasurer. 5 minutes later, understood. Will confer with client. At 3 p.m., the club issues a public statement with their crest at the top. We paused fundraising last weekend, pending documentation of charitable status and proper receipting. We are committed to integrity in all events hosted at our facility. Donors with questions may contact the office. They don't say Jason's name. They don't need to. At 4:41, the leasing company replies to Catherine's lawyer. We have received Miss Lewis's fraud affidavit and DocuSign logs. We are pausing collection against her and will investigate the signature history. 2 sentences. 2 lifelines. At 5:12, my inbox pings. Subject, proposal counter. Jason's counsel proposes deleting the apology and retraction, replacing restitution with good faith cooperation, and striking the 24-month fundraising ban. He offers mutual non-disparagement if we sign a mutual statement of misunderstanding. David calls me before I can type the word no. This is where people blink, he says. This is where we don't. Our leverage is facts, not fury. We counter once with the same terms and one tweak. If he wants to save face, he can apologize to neighbors and donors for misstatements, rather than to you by name. Substance remains identical. We send the counter. We give him 48 hours. We copy the courier again, because paper makes clocks. Emily and I take a walk in air so cold it peels the week off our skin. She threads her arm through mine. If he refuses, then the words change. I say. From proposal to petition. From opportunity to order. She nods, eyes on the salt-streaked sidewalk. I don't want a courtroom. Me neither, I say. I want clean books, quiet holidays, and boring emails. On our porch, she stops me. I'm proud of you, she says, simple and huge. Not for being right, for being careful. Careful doesn't feel small anymore. It feels like a skill. Back inside, the blue binder gets a new tab. Settlement. I print the proposal, his counter, our counter. I clip them together, right in the corner with a Sharpie. Offer is not equal to surrender. Then I set a reminder for the deadline and close the cover. At 8:03 p.m., the banker emails the board. For tomorrow's meeting, I'll present a brief primer on fiduciary duty and conflicts, then yield to the CPA. Keep Q&A to process, not personalities. He CCs me and David. He didn't have to. The CC is a kind of community. At 10:12, Patricia's feature goes live. When family and finance collide, how HOAs audit themselves. The last sentence is mine, unattributed in a way that feels perfect. Boundaries aren't revenge, they're repairs. I set my phone face down and my heart to a normal rhythm. The house has returned to its favorite sounds. Heater hum, dishwasher swish, The kind of quiet that means nothing's hiding. Tomorrow, a room will get acquainted with ledgers. In 2 days, a deadline will pass or produce a signature. Either way, the sequence holds. Don't argue, document, notify, enforce. Emily flips off the kitchen light. Bed? She asks. Bed, I say. On the nightstand, the sticky note from Dr. Miller has curled at one corner. I press it flat with a fingertip and leave it there. An ordinary talisman in a life that's finally becoming ordinary on purpose. The member meeting feels less like a showdown and more like a class that should have been taught years ago. The banker gives his 5-minute primer on fiduciary duty. The CPA walks everyone through the yellow highlighted exceptions, and the acting chair keeps Q&A on rails. No pitchforks. No shouting. Just adults watching numbers behave like facts. When it's over, I carry my thumb drive to the table where the board is collecting exhibits. The vice president signs a receipt. Received member materials timeline, ACH, minutes, filings, audio transcript. I clip the carbon copy into the blue binder and walk out with a lighter spine. 40 hours into Jason's 48, his lawyer blinks. Subject, acceptance. Without prejudice. Body. Client agrees to terms 110 with limited language adjustment to apology as discussed. Please, forward escrow instructions. David calls with the baked-in caution of a man who's been here before. This isn't absolution, he says. It's containment. We verify signatures, wire instructions, and clock starts. We do it by the book. Funds go to counsel escrow with memo lines that read like confessions. HOA, restitution, CPA fees, loan repayment. The apology template addressed to neighbors and donors lands next, near verbatim. I made misstatements about a relative after he ended financial support. There was no dangerous weather. I regret the harm caused and will cooperate fully with HOA and club processes. He posts it on the gym's accounts for 14 days. Per the term. Comments are off. Screenshots are forever. He resigns as treasurer. The club issues a small notice in the member newsletter. Fundraising privileges reinstated under new guidelines requiring EIN verification, receipts, and a dedicated organization bank account. There is no mention of Jason. There is a full page on how to vet a fundraiser. Hygiene over drama. I print it for the binder. Catherine's Lane moves too. Karen Liu forwards an email from the leasing company. We have terminated the guarantee listing, Miss Lewis. Flagged the account for identity review. And referred the signature history to our fraud unit. No collection activity will be directed to Miss Lewis. Attached, a letter from the police acknowledging receipt of the packet. 2 sentences, 2 shields. The paper runs the governance feature in print, tame headline, sturdy content. A boxed correction sits beside it like a small apology that took the stairs. Patricia sends a final note. If you ever want to go on record about boundaries, we can do a column. I decline. The story is already where it belongs, inside rooms with bylaws and budgets. We keep our own agreement, the one we wrote at our kitchen table. Therapy with Dr. Miller becomes a place where we don't talk about Jason much. We talk about how to keep a house that doesn't invite chaos to dinner. She gives us a closure checklist, rituals dressed as tasks. Archive the file. Return borrowed dignity to yourself. Mark the boundary in visible ways, habits, calendars, passwords. Celebrate boring. I follow it like instructions from an owner's manual I should have read before I started driving. On a Tuesday, the last wire hits escrow, and David sends a screenshot I saved twice. We're done, he says. At least with this chapter. And, what about the rest? I ask. Ho publishes the final audit, he says. If there's more, they'll handle it with counsel and insurers. If law enforcement wants a word, they'll call the right people. Not your lane. You stay in yours. So I do. I restore autopay to my own savings. I buy a new porch light and install it on a Saturday morning with coffee cooling on the steps. It's a tiny luxury to fix something that belongs to me. Emily frames the dinky sticky note from Dr. Miller. The boundary is not what I say to him. It's what I promise myself, and hangs it by the front door, eye level, so we both read it on the way out. Ryan drops by with a bag of groceries and a single, hideous bow for the blue binder. Put it away like a present you don't open, he says. We store the binder on the top shelf of the office closet, backed up twice. Encrypted drive and cloud. Paper that fought for us doesn't need to fight every day. Jason sells the car with the loud exhaust and the watch with the louder logo. He stops posting speeches and starts posting workouts. The non-disparagement clause does its quiet work. I don't wish him ill. I wish him small. Small is safe for us. Thanksgiving arrives without an agenda. We make a turkey in a kitchen no one mocked. FaceTime Catherine and Emily's dad from a table that doesn't balance on my resentment. When we say grace, I thank the inventor of two-factor authentication and whoever wrote the first bylaw. Emily squeezes my hand and says, "Amen," like she's swearing allegiance to peace. A week before Christmas, the HOA's final report lands: clean tables, black and white charts, a brief summary, related party payments documented, disclosed post hoc, and repaid with fees, missing receipts remediated or clawed back, controls updated, vendor vetting, conflict certifications, dual signatures over $500, quarterly reports to members. It reads like a system learning a lesson. I print the cover page and slide it under a new tab, closure. I don't print the rest. I don't need to. The important part is that process now weighs more than personality. Christmas Eve, we set 2 plates, 2 mugs, 1 candle. No 12-foot tree, no speech. Emily tapes a small card to the back of a spare chair and leaves the chair empty on purpose. The card says, "Boundaries equals love." It isn't spite, it's geometry. Love has shape now. We eat French toast too loud and laugh at the sizzle. Emily opens a card from Catherine with a photo inside, her standing next to a small legal file labeled "Closed." The caption says, "Seat belts on." I put it on the mantle next to a picture of us at a state park, both of us looking like people who slept and meant it. Before bed, I take the blue binder down just once, not to flip pages, just to feel its weight, and then set it back where it belongs. It's not a weapon anymore. It's a fence we built and walked on the safe side of. People ask me sometimes quietly, like it's a confession if it felt like revenge. I don't give them a speech. I give them a sentence. Boundaries aren't revenge. They're repairs. Repairs to bank accounts and reputations, sure, but mostly repairs to the part of you that handed out access because you thought love required it. Repairs to the story you tell yourself about being nice when what you were was negotiable. If there's a moral, it fits on a sticky note. Don't argue with lies, audit them. Don't fund chaos, budget for peace. Don't confuse compassion with concessions. Write things down. Then live by what you wrote. Emily turns off the tree, a normal, reasonable tree, while I lock the door with a click that sounds like punctuation. The house hums. The year exhales. Somewhere outside, a cul-de-sac rests under a streetlight. Exactly as boring as we always wanted. In the morning, we make coffee without checking our phones. The binder stays on the shelf. The boundary stays in place, and for the first time in a long time, I can't think of a single thing I need to fix that isn't already written down. Here's where I landed after all of this. Protecting your peace is not petty. It's policy. The biggest lesson I learned is that no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone an essay, a PowerPoint, or a holiday performance to justify a boundary. If someone calls your boundary hostility, they were benefiting from your silence. I also learned that paper beats performance when you're dealing with a narcissist or chronic gaslighting. Receipts, texts, emails, bank records, bylaws speak louder than speeches. And maybe the most surprising lesson: compassion without boundaries turns into complicity. You can love people and still refuse to fund the chaos they create. If you're stuck in a similar loop, try this mini playbook. 1. Stop arguing, document. 2. Put all communication in writing. 3. Separate urgency from entitlement. Their emergency is not your obligation. 4. Get third-party support, therapist, lawyer, accountant, so you're not outnumbered in your own head. 5. Remember that silence can be strategy, not surrender. Now, I'm curious what you think, internet jury. AITA for cutting off the money? Letting the article hang itself on its own inaccuracies, and bringing receipts to the rooms that mattered? What would you have done in my situation? Go quieter, go louder, or the same sequence: document, notify, enforce. Have you ever dealt with an entitled family member who mistook your kindness for consent? Drop your survival tips, scripts that worked, boundaries that held, resources that helped. For the mods and veterans of R divided by pro revenge, divided by R divided by Amma the asshole. What's the one line you wish more people used when they're being triangulated? I'll be in the comments, taking notes for anyone who needs a template. And if you're reading this while debating a hard boundary, consider this your sign. Protect your peace, then put it in writing.